Coming up on another exciting installment of That Was a Show.
Well, guys, what were your first impressions of Jennifer Slept Here?
I feel like this is a return to the roots of That Was a Show. Like our first 3 episodes, Aliens in the Family, Teen Angel, and Whoops. This is another one of those types of shows where, at least on the surface, it seems utterly preposterous.
My first impressions were, I know the ghost is trying to teach this kid lessons, but couldn't she have at least tried to teach him not to be a complete creep?
I think she's actually encouraging the creepiness.
No, she is.
She's encouraging. She's encouraging it.
Actively, anyway.
She's a double agent for the patriarchy.
Yeah,
basically.
We'll get into that. But
yeah.
Okay. Cold open. We grew up during peak sitcom. Seinfeld, Friends, The Fresh Prince. But those shows were diamonds in the rough. This podcast is not about those diamonds. It's about the rough. Some sitcoms were briefly popular in their time. Some were canceled almost immediately. You probably won't recognize most of these, and you'll ask, that was a show?
That was a show?
The podcast about failed or forgotten sitcoms from the 80s and 90s, starring
Brynn Byrne,
Aaron Yeger,
and Andrew Helmer as Barry.
A Radio Gizmo production.
Tell us about Jennifer Slept Here.
All right. So Jennifer Slept Here was a supernatural NBC sitcom that aired a total of 13 episodes between October 1983 and September 1984. It was created by Larry Rosen and Larry Tucker, two successful Larrys who joined forces to form Larry Productions. Jennifer Slept Here is about the ghost of glamorous movie star Jennifer Farrell as she haunts the Elliott family who moves into her Hollywood mansion. The twist is that teenage Joey Elliott is the only family member that can actually see her. The show stars Ann Jillian as Jennifer, John P. Navin Jr. as Joey, Brandon Maggart and Georgia Engel as his parents, and Maya Stark as his little sister Marilyn. Glenn Scarpelli plays Mark, a neighbor boy who befriends Joey. Jennifer becomes sort of a mentor for young Joey and wears several fabulous outfits. The show revolves largely around slut-shaming a dead woman, poorly executed sight gags, and horny 14-year-old boys and their escapades.
Yep, that's a good summary.
That sums it up.
Yeah, pretty much.
Why did you choose this show?
I mean, you guys know me pretty well. It's clearly the type of thing that I would gravitate toward. You know, just the aesthetics of the promo ads and her bad haircut. Like, it's all very campy and very over the top and definitely something that I would naturally gravitate towards.
Yeah, this comes full circle to your first ever That Was a Show pick, which was Teen Angel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yep. I have a thing for ghost comedy, apparently. But yeah, I stumbled upon it one day when I was doing research for another one of our episodes. I can't remember which one, but I was like, oh my God, we have to do this eventually. And just it's one of those weird shows that feels a lot older than it really is. Like it feels very 70s. And certainly, I don't know if her weird page boy haircut was a thing in the early 80s, but it is, yeah, it's rough.
I was into it.
Oh, God, it's like that style of it literally being like a weird like bowl that's like combed under and curled under. It looks like something out of like the 60s, but it's supposed to be, well, she died in the late 70s. And it takes place in the early 80s. It's all very confusing.
Yeah, when did it air? What was the...
83.
It was 83 to 84.
Ah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's basically very peak cocaine-fueled sitcom era. the era in which the three of us came from. So,
This is right out of Mr. Producer's.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is
I'm sure Mr. Producer had a hand in this.
Yeah, this is the cauldron from which we emerged, this era.
Yeah.
The opening theme and title artwork is
God.
very odd. The theme song is super on the nose, but the artwork is like abstract postmodern art.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of one of the covers for The Great Gatsby. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
So
I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's
Yeah.
a very famous cover.
Yeah.
Because, sorry, there's no reason to even talk about this, but it's like one of my favorite stories. Fitzgerald showed the cover work to Ernest Hemingway, and he said it was the ugliest thing he'd ever seen, and that nobody would ever buy a book with that cover.
And, this version is very beige and 70s. So,
it's ugly. It doesn't work.
It's ugly AF. And I was sold on doing this show as soon as I heard the opening line of the theme song, which is, I just saw the most beautiful ghost in the world.
My
if
favorite...
there are many ghosts to be seen, and there was
Which
one
was
that
for
is
sure the pitch for the show.
definitely the most beautiful.
My favorite thing about the theme song is that it's just a regular theme song, and then at the end they were like, put the title in it, and then the last line is like, and Jennifer slept here.
But they do. Okay, I have the entire lyrics right in front of me here. So
Yeah.
It goes, I just saw the most beautiful ghost in the world. She slept here. I just saw the most outrageous kind of girl. She lives here. Jennifer, what are you doing to me when...
This is like Charlie Kelly's Nightman lyrics.
Okay, Jennifer, what are you doing to me when out of my life you appear? Doesn't make any goddamn sense. They say the stars don't shine as bright since you left here. Jennifer slept here.
That's not even the line in the show.
She lives here. She loved here, laughed here, and wept here. She slept here.
Christ.
But she never really left here. Jennifer slept here.
Oh, wow.
That is the theme song, folks.
And I love that you mentioned that It's Always Sunny reference, because this is definitely reminiscent of, let's just say, she's trying to get into this boy's soul.
No, it reminds me of the Nightman, where as you listen to Charlie start singing Nightman, you're like, what happened to Charlie?
Yeah.
Wow.
And can I just say, how creepy it is that, they're saying Jennifer slept here specifically, not that she lived there. There's something gross about that. There's something we're watching her. It's like this famous sexy movie star. She slept here. There's something really gross in the subtext of that.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
the show is,
it apparently this was a show.
Yeah, it really was a show. And I wish I could find more info about it. There's definitely people in the blogosphere who've kind of delved into this territory, because it is such a weird show and such a weird, campy thing that's, I think, probably has a bit of a cult following to those who remember it. There's a line in an episode of 30 Rock that is referenced in one of these blogs, and where Kenneth mentions it offhand as this was a show that existed on NBC.
I wrote down the Kenneth line.
Oh, go ahead, Aaron. Go ahead.
It's a conversation, and in the midst of talking about various shows, I guess. He says, I've got an idea for a show called Doctor, about Richard Doctor, who's a piano player. Do you remember that show Jennifer Slept Here? Anne Gilliam plays the ghost of a Hollywood starlet who helps teenagers. With what? I don't know. She helps them with creepy, pervy, efforts. That's what it is. It's
she's all about free love, man.
Yeah, it's a weird male fantasy. It's this very statuesque, glamorous blonde woman who is helping young boys get the confidence to ask girls out and bring them to a hot tub. It's really, really odd and nonsense.
Yeah. There's a note I have here that I was going to bring up later, but I should really just say this now. It feels like the concept of this show revolves around a 30-something Hollywood starlet sex symbol, Ghost, mentoring an adolescent boy on how to hook up with chicks, to the point where she seems to have some sort of strong vested interest in that.
Very.
Like, it's almost as if she became a ghost and then she was told that her soul will only be at peace if she makes sure that this teen boy gets an HJ.
Oh my God. Guys, what if she's trying to be reborn? So she's just like trying to get this guy to impregnate somebody.
Yeah, I could dig that. I could get behind that, where she just wants to leap into the soul of the baby.
She doesn't care who. She just needs a baby to be born.
Yeah, it's really unclear as to what her motivations are. Like, is she like, we only watched 2 episodes of this, but
yeah, that was enough.
You know, I mean, the one motivation is that she doesn't want to leave her mansion because she worked really hard and had to really pay her dues in Hollywood in order to get to that level. So I get that motivation. Like, I get that she's like, I'm never leaving here. This is my home. But other than that, there's no, like, obviously there's something that comes up in episode 4, which we'll get to. But yeah, it's really, really odd. And
it's very weird that she has no drive.
Yeah, but it's like she's clearly just meant to be a sex symbol and meant to facilitate all the dumb sight gags that can exist. And, I was also fascinated with this show because of its star. Anne Gillian is an interesting character. Like, she was a child star, and she was a star on like big stage productions of musicals. Yeah, she did a lot of musical theater. She was one of these multi-hyphenate, triple threat types of talents, an amazing singer, dancer, actor. And she started becoming kind of a TV sex symbol in the late 70s, early 80s. And then this was like her first, big role. And it was supposed to be a launching pad. But really, it's like, poor thing. It's like, I think they were trying to have this character sort of reflect her persona, but she really wasn't that person. Like, yes, she was a sex symbol, but they're also like immediately slut shaming this character and talking about how, like, there's all these jokes right out of the gate.
The dad is brutal.
Yeah, there's all these like jokes right out of the gate talking about how, she didn't actually sleep in this house. She did anything but sleep in this house. And
the dad character has no participation in the plots of these 2 episodes other than to throw out lines that are slut shaming her.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the only on-screen presence the dad has, period, full stop.
Yeah.
I do like that Jennifer herself, like, is in no way fazed by any of it. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Jennifer doesn't care. She knows how she lived her life, and she disagrees. She politely disagrees, and she doesn't waste her time dealing with that.
Yeah.
I wish we didn't have to waste our time dealing with that.
Yeah.
But alas, they needed to fill 22 minutes, I guess, and you can't go 22 minutes on network television without insulting a woman, so.
Yeah. So the pilot, the summary is that the Elliott family has moved from New York to California, and they've moved into this palatial mansion, and it's unclear how they can afford said mansion. I think the dad is supposed to be a lawyer of some sort. But anyway, so they've moved from New York to LA, and, the kids are kind of like grumbling about it. They're not happy about the move. Joey in particular is not adjusting well, and he's kind of like lamenting missing this crush from back in New York. He goes into his new bedroom and very abruptly meets Jennifer. And,
they waste no time.
They waste no time, and they make no sort of effort to make it obvious that she's a ghost. Yeah. And so somewhere in the course of those first couple of scenes, it's revealed that, she died 6 years earlier, and she died by chasing an ice cream truck and getting run over by it. So real stupid. It's like some teen angel level stupidity. Yeah. And so that's how she died. And she's like, I am not leaving this house. So you're just going to have to all live with the fact that I'm here to stay. And oh yeah, only you can see me, Joey.
That was my favorite bit about the pilot, was that it's like, won't do you any good. Nobody can see me but you. Like, they don't give us even a minute to figure out that central conceit
Yeah.
of the premise that he's the only one that can see her. Like
and why?
And
you
why?
Know,
Yeah.
like, it's,
She's not haunting the house. She's haunting him.
she's haunting
him specifically for reasons that seem completely arbitrary.
Unclear. And, like, I don't know if anything happens later in the series where there's like any stupid explanation given as to why Joey can, like, I doubt it, but like, it's like why Joey specifically can see her. Like, is he some sort of medium or like, there's no mention of that, at least in the pilot. So Joey ends up confiding in Jennifer that he misses this girl from New York and he desperately wants to go back and see her and, can like profess his love to this other 14-year-old of all things. And, she's just like, you need to move on with your life. You're a hot young guy living in LA. and a neighbor boy named Mark, who inexplicably sounds like he's from New York as well.
He is.
Yeah, very
no,
much.
He is.
No, but he
said he moved from Brooklyn 2 years before.
Okay, I missed that, and that explains a lot.
I think they're old friends from New York.
Okay. She wants Joey to like go out and like live his life and perv around town with Mark and like pick up young chicks.
Yeah, she doesn't mince words. She wants him to play the field and have relationships with as many girls as possible simultaneously. Yeah. She says that very clearly. And my favorite part of this is they have this bit that they play it as if it's like this touching heart to heart that's not being played for comedy. It's being played for like a moment of drama between the two of them. And she says, "What are you afraid of?" And he says, and there's no sarcasm, there's no joke to this, like as if it's a heart to heart. "What are you afraid of? Starting all over again." He's 14.
He's 14.
Yeah.
He's 14.
He's 14.
I mean, he dresses like he's 43.
Yeah.
But
especially when he's getting ready to like sneak off in the night to New York
with the tie.
Like he puts on a tie and like a hat. Like he looks like a 1950s businessman with his like little suitcase and everything. Like it's so ridiculous.
My other favorite thing is it's not like they don't give her like the cliche hot girl name. Like she's not like, like Becky Fletcher or something like that.
Yeah.
She's just Lindemann. Like goes by her last name Lindemann. And I'm like, what is all of this?
Yeah,
Yes.
And so I'm glad that you brought up how he dresses. Okay, so it's a 14-year-old character, but it feels like they're trying to make him look as mature as possible to compensate for how weird some of these plots and dialogue lines are. So it's 14-year-old boy. They cast a 15-year-old actor who kind of looks 16. They put him in these sweater vests and these mature outfits.
Yeah.
And it feels like that's all a bunch of machinations to make it marginally less creepy that, you have this sexy ghost in her 30s who's exclusively haunting him.
I have something I want to bring up about the sexy ghost.
Please do.
This show which is a sentence I've probably uttered many times in my life. This show is so horny and like all... all the whole point of the show is this kid wants to get laid. I was so taken aback by the fact that he is in no way like acknowledges that she's attractive. I'm not saying I wanted them to go there. I'm just saying it's a weird fucking omission that like this kid who's always horny is like, I have a sexy ghost that hangs out in my room and occasionally like puts on swimwear.
Yeah.
And it's just and she's an annoyance.
It's nonsense. It does play into this weird male fantasy of like, oh, he's just playing aloof and like, she's not like the other girls. Like literally she's dead. So she's not like the other girls. And, she's just like one of the guys, but she like looks like this stunning, gorgeous, like movie star.
I feel like a year later, somebody probably saw this show and was like, oh, you know what? What if he fucked the ghosts? And then John Hughes made Weird Science.
Yeah.
So I want to, I have this.
Yeah, that is a trope, just to jump in here real quick, because that got me very excited. That whole, like it is a lot like Weird Science, like that
It's
trope
Weird
of like
Science,
like a one-dimensional, like stunning statuesque woman who's not quite human that helps young boys like get girls. Like it's like a very weird 80s specific trope.
Like she's a Hollywood starlet.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think that and I'm not saying to write these things in the most cliche imaginable, but isn't a funnier situation is her being a Hollywood starlet and her getting him to keep waiting on her hand and foot like she was when she was alive? Isn't that?
Yeah.
Why make her a Hollywood starlet if she's literally just there to dispense relationship advice?
Yeah,
Right.
I don't even know.
So it seems like they're almost. Not quite, but almost. And don't jump on me and tell me I'm wrong, because I'm not saying they are doing this, but
wrong.
They're almost establishing a will they or won't they between a 14-year-old boy and a sexy ghost in her 30s. And it's true that he's playing it aloof, but there are brief, fluttering moments where she seems to be coming on to him in a way that is... For example, we watched this together, Brynn and I.
Yeah.
And Brynn, you pointed out they're sitting on the couch together, side by side, and like sitting a little too close to each other.
Yeah.
And then she finds out that he has this girlfriend, and she shifts over on the couch and has this facial expression as
Like
if she's jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not. It's not quite, but almost.
Ugh. It's so gross. It's all so gross.
I detected let's put it this way. I don't think they were going to start going there, but they were like, as soon as we got 3 or 4 years of this show in the can, like they're going to do it.
Yeah. Once he was legal age.
Once he was legal. Yeah.
I kind of looked through some of the episode descriptions of the rest of the series, and they're all really dumb. Obviously. But they do, it seems like they try to talk more about Hollywood and how young, attractive actors like struggle and kind of get pigeonholed into like a sex symbol kind of thing. And obviously I didn't watch these episodes, so they're probably not well written and probably pretty trash. But
there's no hidden gems out there.
Yeah. Well, the episode that is listed as episode 2 actually looks kind of interesting, and I might try to find it on my own, where it's like the whole pretense is that they're making a biopic about Jennifer and like filming it in the house. And, there's something to do with, I believe that there's like a script being like kind of pitched by Joey himself, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I caught like little clips of it on online.
Is that his name? I watched almost an hour of this and I didn't even know the kid's name.
I know.
At one point we were talking about it and I had to ask. I was like, what is his name?
Yeah.
And we have to look it up.
Joey. Well, I couldn't remember the friend's name either, like Mark. I was like, what? I can't even tell,
I reversed them. I thought Mark was the main character and Joey, because the other kid is clearly a Joey.
Clearly.
Right. But yeah, so in this episode, the whole idea is that one of her rival actresses plays her. So it's kind of like a dumb sort of, pitting women against women. And, and then there's another episode here where there is an old nude photo that she took really early in her career, kind of like in the same vein as like Marilyn Monroe very early in her career did some nude modeling. And, the photos were leaked like after she was already established as an actress, and it was like traumatic because she did it just to make some money. And there's nothing wrong with getting nude photos taken, but at the time society was so puritanical that they looked at that as something to like demonize. And certainly if you don't want your nude photos going public, you have every right to like get that resolved. And so basically this episode is just that, where Jennifer is urging Joey to get these photos and sends him on a mission to get these photos.
Of course she tasks him.
Yeah. Well, because he's alive.
So what you're saying is this kid's gonna see nudes of her.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess. Oh God, gross.
He can't carry out that task without eventually getting the photos.
Without checking them out.
Yeah.
The pilot ends with this moment where the idea is he has to get over this girlfriend from back in New York, and she facilitates him meeting this new girl from LA at the end of the pilot.
Lord.
And of course, it's a moment where this girl's like instantly throwing herself at Joey. And
which is complete nonsense.
Complete nonsense. Like they don't know each other.
Okay, come on. She smiles at him.
No. It's more. There's this whole
It's a come hither smile.
Yes, there's this whole implication, and then I couldn't help but think that this is the sitcom equivalent of like, here's the hot mom and schlubby dad of the future meet cute. Like this is how the sitcom couple first met. Because this
Joey's definitely gonna turn into a schlubby dad someday.
And his dad is
a schlubby dad.
Is so it's gonna be a like father like son sort of thing.
Yeah, the mom character as well, who I find personally charming. I think she's very cute.
I always enjoy the actress.
Yeah,
she's fun.
She is kind of playing up a trope as well, which is that kind of like soft-spoken, high-pitched voice, like innocent mom, like that very like not quite ditzy, but definitely more like kind of submissive and sweet and innocent mom.
Yeah, I mean, part of me, like at least with the voice she was doing, part of me goes to what Tanya Roberts ended up doing on that 70s show.
Yeah, Tanya Roberts. You mean?
No, I mean Tanya Roberts. I mean Donna's mom.
Donna's mom. Yeah. I was gonna say not Mary Jo Rupp.
No, Mary Jo Rupp.
Deborah Jo Rupp.
Deborah Jo Rupp is doing Deborah Jo Rupp.
Yeah, but she is kind of like the same type of thing but she has that more nervous energy.
Oh God, I love her.
Yeah, she's the best. Aaron and I had this like discussion about how Joey has the look of like every teenage boy in a
yeah, he's like he's a 50th percentile teen boy.
Yeah. So the fact that these girls are like falling all over him.
He's a real Alex P. Keaton type.
Yeah.
You know?
But he's like, it's like that same kind of body type, like average height, kind of stocky, but it has like longish, light brown hair. Like it's like
Jason
like the
Bateman
template.
Yes. And that's your move.
Yeah. So he's like Jason Bateman and It's Your Move. He's almost like Mike on Hi Honey, I'm Home, like a very similar look. But yet all the teenage girls love him.
He's unassuming.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like girls would like him, but not to this degree.
Yeah, not to the degree presented here.
The whole family there that they present is like straight out of the sitcom kit. Like one of those boxed gingerbread house kits where there's like the hot mom and schlubby dad, and she is, like you're saying, kind of like
and don't forget about
the weird little sister,
the precocious
little sister who
says like worldly things.
Yeah, says worldly things and just pops in wearing a weird outfit. Maybe we should jump to episode 4 because
she dresses up like the episode 4 where she dresses up like Patton and does a speech from Patton.
Okay, so I definitely want to talk about that. Should you describe the plot of episode 4, or do we even care?
I'll just cut to the chase real quick. So it's Halloween, and basically the parents and the little sister are all going to like a neighbor's like Halloween party. So basically Joey has the house to himself, and so there's like a whole thing about how Jennifer wants him to like have girls over. And it's this weird pervy thing where, there's like twin girls that show up, which is a trope we've already identified. It's like two blonde twins, which is an 80s trope where they don't really have a mind of their own. And they both just like really are there to like be props for the pervy teenage boys. The biggest thing about episode 4 is the appearance of Jennifer's mother. So the ghost of Jennifer's mother shows up out of nowhere, coming out of her wardrobe, and she's played by none other than screen icon Debbie Reynolds. So somehow they paid like I don't know, like iconic.
It's an NBC sitcom, man. They had money.
I guess they had the money to give her, but wow, like they were really shooting for the stars, getting Debbie Reynolds on that show.
NBC loves their first season big guest stars.
Yes. There's this whole idea that there's unfinished business between mother and daughter. I guess her mother didn't approve of her efforts to become a famous movie star. And, so they had some tension and
I thought it was that
unresolved-
the mother felt like she hadn't been thanked for helping her become a movie star.
She did. That is true. That was what was the mom's beef with her. But the reason Jennifer resented her is because, oh, yeah, you want me to thank you, but you didn't support me.
Okay.
Which
the whole time.
Which she didn't, and fuck you. She shouldn't have thanked her.
But also,
Jennifer apologizes at the end, spoiler alert, and I was just like, no, your mother was terrible to you.
Yeah. Terrible and manipulative.
Yeah, everything we learn about Jennifer's backstory, like, you just keep being like, oh.
Yeah.
But also, that whole scene was strange. It felt like it was out of a totally different show.
Yes,
Well,
I agree.
Can we just talk about, well, sorry, you keep going.
I mean, that's all I had to say about that. It just...
I meant Brynn is describing the show.
Yeah, just...
That's it. That's all that happens. Like, ultimately,
That's all
mother
that
and daughter, like, make up and...
Oh, but there is another... I don't know if we're calling that the A story and this other thing is the B story. It doesn't matter.
That's the A story.
But,
Joey's the B story.
So let's say Joey's the B story. His plot in this episode is, I guess, to get some sort of date for this party. There's this scene, like the inciting incident of his plot is that he's grumpy because he doesn't have a date for this like Friday night or whatever. And there's this exchange with a line like, don't be so like upset or in a bad mood just because you don't have a date tonight. And the whole tone of it was like, I'm sorry, but am I the only one who thinks it's weird that it would be assumed and taken for granted that a 14-year-old boy would have a thriving nonstop dating life and complain about a dry spell by not having a hot date one Friday night like he's some sort of swinging bachelor in his 30s? Like, I don't get it. I harp on this in a lot of shows. I don't get it.
I think this brings up that, like, maybe you're not trying to make a point, but it's something that actually actively bothered me as well, because you see this all the time on TV. And I distinctly remember being a 14-year-old kid and thinking I should be, going out on dates all the time and feeling that like I was a loser because look at all the kids on TV. They're all dating, even though everybody I knew wasn't dating.
Yeah.
But like, I remember feeling bad watching this shit on TV.
When you're a 14-year-old boy, you hang out with your friends, you play Nintendo and drink pop or soda, you have acne, I don't know, you're like, maybe you go out to the movies on a weekend with some friends. And I'm not saying that there aren't 14-year-olds who go out on a date or ever have like
there clearly is. They're just cooler than we were.
Yeah,
they're cooler than we were.
Yeah,
but I
think that's what we're getting to.
No. But also, look, even 14-year-olds who are dating, they're not like going out with a different girl every week and having
that's true.
Like they have
usually,
that's not how it plays out when you're in like grade 8 or grade 9. You maybe have that like one person you have a crush on and then you end up dating them.
Joey's making his way through the school, man.
Like Joey is, and with the further encouragement of Jennifer, it seems like the goal is to just run a train on the school.
Yeah.
Like he has to date it seems like he'll be a utter failure if he's not dating dozens of different girls.
The obvious question I have here is like, she's watching, right? Like she's watching all of this.
Now, okay, the episodes we watched, they're only in the house. Does she follow him around in the world?
She could.
Yeah, she can go places. Remember, she went to the party, took the shoe, which was creepy.
Oh, so stupid.
Yeah.
There's this gag where Jennifer goes to this party, takes a girl's shoe, puts it in a bag and gives it to Mark and says like, bring this to Joey right away. And then, this girl has to come looking for her shoe. It's like this whole weird ploy and it's all creepy. And I remember just distinctly being like, don't put the shoe on her. He put the shoe on her.
Yep. I guessed that was coming and I was like, no.
I was like, I don't want this.
Yeah. It's weird and gross. And
I do want to briefly loop back to the thing about the precocious younger sister and the Patton thing.
Yeah, go
like
ahead.
Patton, or what it might have also been Apocalypse Now. I think there was like a line that was a play on like the smell of napalm in the morning. But Regardless, the younger sister, what is she, like 5 or something?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
she's younger sibling
Little
age.
kid.
yeah, but it plays into that dumb trope of like, oh, there's a teenager and his sister is like a lot younger.
And his substantially younger
Yeah.
sibling
and smarter,
who's
and way smarter.
way smarter,
And way smarter.
precocious,
Yeah.
worldly. Okay, the
Yeah.
whole cookie cutter thing that you're expecting.
Yeah.
And then she comes in her Halloween costume, which is like a very well put together, like military general type of costume. And she stands there at attention and does this speech. And the actor who plays Joey visibly breaks, like Fallon on SNL breaks. And they leave it in. And I'm like, you could just get another take in the can of him doing a clean reaction shot.
I don't know, man. It was the only charming thing I found about the guy.
It-
I was like, oh, he's amused by his sister.
It didn't seem that Joey was amused by his sister. It seemed that the actor was amused by seeing this young actress do this thing. Like it looked like the actor was breaking and they just kept it in, but they like went to the wide shot. I don't know. I feel like it was funny. It was weird.
I wrote down a quote that jumped out at me, and I can't remember who said it, so maybe you guys can help me. It's literally, "Ghost lady, you've got yourself a medium."
I have the same quote written down here.
Is it Joey that says that?
I think it was Joey because they make this deal where she needs him to be the medium so that they can do a séance and
Right.
channel her mother.
Yeah.
And in exchange, he wants her. What? I don't remember what he wanted in exchange. I
It's
assume
all
something to do
unclear
with
and all dumb.
obviously something to do with hooking up with chicks, but I don't remember the details.
And how did her mom?
Oh, it was something relating to like getting the twins in a hot tub or
Ugh,
something. It was
gross.
gross. Whatever it was gross.
It was real gross.
And
Did he switch twins?
I think
He switched
I
twins,
think
right?
and there was some joke about how there's no difference or whatever.
Ugh.
It's
Ghost lady, you've got yourself a medium.
yeah.
The girl that he was interested in said she kept her bikini in her compact, and then the one came back was the one who kept her bikini in the purse. And I remember being like, that's a different twin, man. That's gross.
yeah.
Stick to the same twin.
Ugh.
What happened to the mother? Did she end up going back, like crossing over? Like what happened there?
No idea.
No.
Was it unresolved?
No, they just made up and she left. She's okay. This opened up so many weird questions where I'm like, okay, so ghosts can travel back and forth. They can go to different places. They can haunt different places. So all of these things is like, okay, so Jennifer is choosing to be here. Jennifer is choosing to hang out with this kid because her mom, when she leaves the episode, is like, all right, well, I'm going to go haunt this guy for a bit. And then, I'll probably leave your father around for a little while. And I was just like, this is so weird that they're establishing that there's this whole ghost network. Ghosts can interact with each other.
Yeah.
Ghosts can contact each other. And all of this just makes it weirder that Jennifer decides to hang out with a 14-year-old boy.
Yeah. Yeah, they take a lot of liberties there, and they try to make up these weird rules about what the afterlife really is all about. And like Jennifer has a new outfit on in every single scene. It's not like what we saw in Teen Angel where he wears the same outfit all the time, which to me made more sense of something that's so nonsensical. Like I enjoyed the fashions, don't get me wrong. Like
I love it. Yeah, I wouldn't change that.
I loved every evening gown and every jumpsuit that I saw. And like, I was like, ooh, that's how you wear shoulder pads. Like I was very happy to see that, but I was also like, how is this like, how is this working?
Jennifer's confidence and her clothing are the most redeeming elements
Aw.
of the show.
Yeah.
Which is...
And, like Anne Gillian herself is obviously quite talented.
I liked her. And I
Yeah.
found if I took away anything positive, which I pretty much didn't, I remember at least getting the feeling in the end of episode 4 when Joey, decides to stop doing everything to get laid and he decides to help Jennifer. I remember distinctly going, oh, they're becoming friends. That's kind of nice, I guess.
Aaron, I know you've been dying to get into the whole like Glenn Scarpelli like saga.
Yeah, that is probably something we should talk about. So
I want to, just because we're doing random notes, did anybody else write down the quote about that'll jumpstart your pajamas?
Oh, no.
No.
I mean, kind of a great line.
This is a horny show.
This is a
horny
really,
show.
really horny show.
Kind of a great line. Kind of. Wish it was on something else.
Yeah.
Wish it wasn't directed towards a 14-year-old, but kind of a great line.
The friend Mark, we should talk a bit about, and a little discovery I made from a blog. So, we talked about how he starts hanging out with this kid, Mark, who, as you pointed out, Barry, thank you for reminding us that he had also moved there from New Jersey, which explains his accent. But I was researching the show and came across a little discovery on a blog called Platypus Comics. I don't know anything about this blog or company, but a shout out to them for an extensive article about this show. Deep dive, which contained the following insight. Mark is played by actor Glenn Scarpelli. Glenn Scarpelli's dad was Henry Scarpelli, an artist for Archie Comics. Okay. Henry inserted his son Glenn, with full first and last name, mind you, into Archie Comics. Several, okay? Seemingly to promote his son and his son's budding acting career. So Betty and Veronica swoon over this mysterious guy who is literally named Glenn Scarpelli, full first and last name, throughout several Archie comics in the 80s and 90s. And so
this kid looks like an Archie character.
Yeah, and I'll send you the link to this after. They have on this blog a few of these comics that show this kid at approximately the age he appears to be in this show, looks kind of like him, and it is like just Betty and Veronica swooning over him, and with dialogue that is very much like, Glenn Scarpelli, you are the best boy in the world, and we are so
when he's not on screen, people are asking where's Poochie.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my
God. It is like that. And there's also a comic frame there that seems to imply that he's like getting a call from a big Hollywood agent or something like that. Like it really seems like it's trying to set him up as this like big deal who you need to be like finding out about.
I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. It's the OG version of like, oh, okay, I'm gonna like make my kid an Instagram sensation, and then they'll parlay that into an acting career. It's like this weird.
What was the music video? Friday?
Oh yeah, Rebecca Black, the Friday thing where her parents like helped her make a music video so she could become a star. Like they spent like a ridiculous amount of money on it.
But they got a return on that investment. Man. They did.
Oh boy, I love it.
That girl made mad bank for a while.
I love overzealous parents that like make these like weird efforts to like.
I'd also like to point out that Archie Comics, like that series is a real quantity over quality. Like that could have literally just been like, you got 9 issues to get out this quarter. Yeah. Throw anything you can at the page. And he's like, I don't know. My kid's getting auditions. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm tired. Yeah.
That reminds me of, one of those newspaper comics that my friend John and I used to make fun of all the time. John, if you're listening, you'll remember this. We would always make fun of the comic Marmaduke and say to each other, like, we get it. He's a big dog. Like that's
okay.
Every day you're doing another strip that's just reminding us he's a really big dog. We get it.
I don't know why, but for some reason that was also a button with me and my childhood like best friend Jeff. To the point where we would cut out Marmaduke comics and like write sarcastic versions of the jokes over them, like and give them to each other.
That's great. I feel like we're learning a lot about society and ourselves through discussing this show.
Yeah, it's weird. It's unexpected.
It's a good jumping off point for conversation. Speaking of parents, you're talking about overzealous parents. The parents in this show are the most non-present that I've ever seen in a sitcom. they are, I mean, at least based on the 2 episodes that we saw, they are the parents and the younger sister. Like, each of those characters gets like 1, maybe 2 lines per episode. They're like, from an acting perspective, they wouldn't even necessarily classify as principals. They're barely present in this show.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, at least in the version of the show we've seen, I cannot imagine giving them even a B plot, like a significant B plot. I can't imagine those characters carrying a scene, you know?
I'd like to give a shout out to the sweet 8-bit Nintendo era graphics in the effects of episode 4.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't it remind you of Ghost Rider?
It did remind me of Ghost Rider. It really did.
Another little production design thing that I'll call out, this is a trope. This is really not so much to do with this show, but it is in this show, is the round table, especially in kitchens. Sitcoms have a round table where everyone is crammed around one side of the table because when it's a multicam sitcom, all their faces need to be open to a camera.
Yep.
Why?
Same thing as the last Supper painting.
Yeah. So
gotta fit the studio audience in there.
Don't do that. Don't use a round, like, it makes it so obvious when you use a round table and you have 4 people crammed around one side of it.
I thought when you said a set design thing that's a trope, I thought you were going to bring up the fact that the interior of the house does not match the exterior.
Not even a little bit.
In terms of scale, it's like a very small, like, well, not small, but it's like definitely a more modest house than what is like shown on the outside.
You're right. I neglected to write that one down. The outside of this house is palatial. The outside of this house is like where the prime minister of a country would live. And like, it's borderline regal.
Yeah.
And it's like a sitcom house inside.
Yes.
With the only flourish being that there is like a balcony in like the main hall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of like staircase to a balcony that reminded me precisely of the one that was in Arrested Development.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, for sure. Random trope that I'm just so tired of seeing, and if there's any sitcom writers out there, you need to realize this. The story of a kid having to move from New York to LA is only relatable to people who have gotten jobs recently working for a sitcom. Like there is like all these stories where like, oh, I'm relocating to California and my kids don't know what to do. Yeah, we get it. You just got a job working in Hollywood. Like, this is not universal.
You know, I never thought about that, but yeah, it is
so
probably
funny.
because like 51% of the people working on these shows moved from New York to LA.
Yes.
Maybe from Chicago to LA or from Boston to LA.
This is exactly right.
Sometimes from Toronto to LA. One thing I learned from old sitcoms is that women need to be very careful not to break a nail because the fear of nail breakage influences a lot of day-to-day decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's true.
I have definitely noticed that.
I don't know, but I didn't have that intense fear growing up, but I would see it over and over again on TV. It's like, oh no, but what if I break a nail?
Yeah.
It's like that. I can't remember what comedian's joke it is, but it's like, I just figured that quicksand was going to be a bigger part of adult life.
I recognize that. I don't know where it's from. But it's also like, I'm going to quote you, something that you said in our last episode, where you said that sitcoms raised you to assume that one day you were going to get a pie in the face.
Yeah, I still assume it's coming.
Hello, wonderful listeners and fans of this podcast. We want to hear from you. Go to anchor.fm/thatwasashow and leave us a voice message, and we might play it in a future episode. Do it soon, and you might make it into our season finale. Or email us at thatwasashow@aol.com, our 90s era email address, and we might read your message. Ask us a question, or tell us what you think of any of the shows we've reviewed in Season 1. Our lines are open, so call right now. All right, back from commercials. Brynn, why don't you tell us about 6 Degrees of Friends for Jennifer Slept Here?
Yeah, so I found quite a few connections, and yeah, they're well within 6 degrees. The closest is a 1 degree connection, and it's through director Alan Meyerson. Alan Meyerson directed both Jennifer Slept Here and Friends. The other connections are related to the cast themselves. So I have 2 2-degree connections. One is through Ann Gillian, the star. So Ann Gillian, who played Jennifer Farrell on Jennifer Slept Here, also went on to co-star in the sitcom It's a Living. And one of her co-stars was Wendy Shaw. Wendy Shaw guest starred on Friends.
Sweet.
You'll also remember Wendy Shaw from Aftermath.
Oh.
Yeah.
Will I, though?
I don't know if you will. The other 2-degree connection is through Larry Spencer, the co-creator. He wrote for Jennifer Slept Here, of course. He also wrote for Muddlin' Through.
Oh.
Did he then?
Which starred Jennifer Aniston. Jennifer Aniston starred as Rachel Green on Friends.
Perfect.
Oh, Rachel Green.
Yeah. And then, so there's another one that you guys are not going to be happy about. Just a warning, just a trigger warning for both of you.
Oh, it's a buffet warning, everyone.
So it's a 3-degree connection. So Ann Gillian, who starred as the titular Jennifer Farrell, went on to have her own show called Ann Gillian. Go figure. And one of her co-stars was Cynthia Harris. Cynthia Harris had a recurring role on Mad About You. You know who else had a reoccurring role on Mad About You? Lisa Kudrow. She, of course, played Ursula Buffet, who is the twin sister of Phoebe Buffet, also played by Lisa Kudrow on Friends.
Nicely done.
Yeah. So I guess this segues nicely into the spin-off. So most of this, I'm going to tell you right now, is about Ann Gillian. After Jennifer Slept Here, Ann Gillian still had a lot of fans and was still pretty much a very big star. She was a big name in both television and movies in the 1980s. She was a big sex symbol, all of that stuff. She was cast in another sitcom a couple years after Jennifer Slept Here was canceled called It's a Living. So It's a Living was about a bunch of women working as servers in a hotel restaurant in LA. It was very much an ensemble show. This show ran for 6 full seasons. And was obviously much more successful. It did like a bit of a retool and went to another network. But anyway, it was a long-running show. During the course of It's a Living, Ann Gillian, unfortunately, was diagnosed with breast cancer. So it was around 1985, and she was 35, kind of at the height of her career, and she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And she sort of became the first outspoken celebrity advocate for breast cancer. And she became a public speaker and someone who really raised awareness for cancer research, which was really special. And, you know, she was very open about it at the time, which wasn't, I guess, that common. And actually in 1988, she starred in a made-for-TV movie about her own experiences called The Ann Gillian Story. So a lot of people were invested in her as a star and also, you know, her story and her fight with cancer. She was in a few more movies and after that and got her own sitcom vehicle called Ann Gillian, which I already mentioned. It only lasted 13 episodes. It seems after that show was canceled, she kind of stepped away from acting and did it more sporadically throughout the 90s, popping up as a guest star on several TV shows and doing the occasional movie of the week. It's possible that, you know, she just chose to focus more on her family because she had a son in 92 and, you know, continued her activism as well. So maybe she just shifted her focus. We don't know. It could also be Hollywood sexism of not wanting to cast a woman over 35.
I was like, my brain went to, I don't know, 90s. She was about to hit 40. That was the end.
I'm going to choose to believe that it's because she decided to focus on her family and her activism. John P. Navin Jr. stepped away from acting and only did a couple of other roles after Jennifer Slept Here. Brandon Maggart and Georgia Engel, who played the Elliot parents, continued to do tons of TV. They were both like very prolific in their careers. Georgia Engel had some pretty memorable guest starring roles and reoccurring roles in TV later in life. One that sticks out for me is playing the elderly woman, Irene, who Aaron Hannon briefly lives with on one of the later seasons of The Office. So when they have their Tallahassee episodes, Aaron basically is like, I'm running away to Florida. So she starts working for this lady, Irene, and living with her, and lives with her for about 3 episodes. And it's a very good role because she plays the kind of sweet, she seems kind of a sweet and innocent elderly lady, but she also kind of makes a lot of comments to Aaron about, well, like, what are you thinking? Like, go back to Scranton, like, get your life together. So she's like very blunt.
Yeah, nice little assertive, blunt moments.
Yeah, it's a fun role. Georgia Engel also had a reoccurring role in Hot in Cleveland. Finally, despite his dad's best efforts, Glenn Scarpelli did not really become an A-list star. But he did, some guest spots here and there throughout the 80s and 90s, and then had a long break and then sort of reappeared again in the 2010s to today. So you can see on his IMDb, there's this big gap, and then he's suddenly back again in random guest starring roles.
Call us, Glenn.
Yeah, exactly. The creators of Jennifer Slept Here, the 2 Larrys, if you will.
The Larrys.
Pretty much wound down their careers after Jennifer Slept Here. They had one other team effort with the show Stir Crazy, which was a sitcom based on the Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor movie, but it only lasted 9 episodes.
I mean, when you hit a home run like Jennifer Slept Here, I mean, you got to go out on top.
Yeah.
I believe we're also thinking of introducing an occasional new segment that we're going to call the callback.
Yeah, so the callback is basically me just observing that a lot of the people involved in Jennifer Slept Here also worked on other shows that we've covered here on That Was a Show. So
callbacks to previous episodes of our podcast.
Yeah. So we have Larry Spencer, who is the 3rd Larry on the writing team of Jennifer Slept Here.
Larry?
Yeah, the 3rd Larry of all the Larrys. I guess it was like a thing. And
it's like the Three Stooges, but they're all Larrys.
Yeah, but he also wrote for Muddlin' Through. Oh. Georgia Engel also guest starred on Hi, Honey, I'm Home.
Nice. All right. Any leftover notes?
I just wrote down, we're 4 episodes in. Why does Joey still not understand that he shouldn't have conversations with Jennifer in front of people? I also wrote down, barn doors in the kitchen. Must be a sitcom. And then, why can all the girls that Mark brings over not hear a single creepy thing that he says?
So, Barry, I'm a network executive in the early 80s, and you're a producer. Pitch me Jennifer Slept Here.
Hey, Aaron, I think I've got an idea for a show.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, it's about this guy, you see? Real typical, everyday guy. Maybe some woman problems, but otherwise, normal guy. He moves into this lush new Hollywood home, you see?
Okay.
But here's the thing, the house, it's beautiful, but it's haunted, you see.
Oh, that's interesting.
Haunted by the ghost of a beautiful Hollywood starlet.
That's quite a hook.
And you see this ghost, she's really nosy, you see. She keeps getting up in his guy's business, trying to tell him how to live his life. I guess she's teaching him some lessons, but sometimes they're a little hard to grasp the meaning of, Like maybe this guy's happy with his life. Maybe things, sure, they could be a little better, but what does this ghost of some washed up actress have to teach this guy that he hasn't already learned?
Mr. Producer, are you okay?
Sometimes this guy, he just gets home. Maybe it's been a long day. Maybe he's worked really hard all day producing mediocre television shows, and he just wants to grab a drink without some goddamn specter popping out from behind the bar to tell him how to score chicks.
Wait, what?
Maybe this producer, right? Or this guy, he begs the spirit to tell him what she wants with him. He pleads he'll do anything. And this ghost, like every other goddamn stranger he meets, looks him straight in the eyes and says, You know, I've been working on a script for this pilot I'd love you to take a look at.
Mr. Producer.
It's one thing when it's your cousin or your ex or your mailman, but when some wannabe reaches out from beyond the grave to hand you a goddamn pilot treatment, you say to yourself, when does this end? When does this end? So anyway, basically that's the show. I don't know, maybe it's a teenager. He's got some kooky parents. I don't know. The rest will write itself. What?
Is your new house haunted?
Of course not. That's ridiculous. Say, do you remember the name of that woman who was at Marshall Whitman's Halloween party last year?
You mean the medium?
Yeah.
Why?
No reason.
So as we wrap up, I think it's time for final thoughts. Does anyone have any final thoughts that they would like to share? I know I do.
Go for it, Aaron.
By all means, sir.
Maybe this show is really about the ghost of adolescent horniness in the minds of the creators.
That's a good theory.
I agree.
And cut to credits. That Was a Show is created and hosted by Brynn Byrne, Andrew Barry Helmer, and myself, Aaron Yeger. It's a production of Radio Gizmo in Toronto, Canada. Subscribe, rate, review, and share. Follow us on Instagram and tell your friends about it. That Was a Show?
Radio Gizmo.